All right. Shifting gears here. We bring in Jay Moore. Good morning.
Morning, guys.
Sorry about that.
I feel like, yeah, that's a little bit of a different segue there.
Yeah. I see it's an Arms Day for you for people that are watching on 1620 this on TV.
Well, yeah, wasn't trying to,
Yeah.
wasn't not trying. Yeah, it just happened that way, I guess.
Okay.
I'll move here so it doesn't look like I'm trying
Oh,
to show off.
um, how should we? So Dana Holgorsen is he is who he is. There was a lot of Mike Leach, like stuff he values, whether it be just the minute details, is what Mike Leach was so good at. And so that kind of like I was like, that's Mike Leach up there talking yesterday. How do we process? There's some of the stuff he said, Jay, that we were like, yeah, you're right. And then there's stuff that he was saying is like, whoa, I can't believe that was going on, and it took a guy off the streets to fix that. How
Mm-hmm.
did you how did you filter through what he was saying yesterday about things that he's recognized in a short amount of time?
Yeah, I think I, whether it's myself, yourself, or whoever it is, I kind of had the same thoughts. I think I love the black and white. That's how I operate. I hate gray area. I think as a coach coming in, you got to work in that black and white. You got to be clear. It's this way. There's no gray area. It has to be this way. If not, we're changing. We're moving on, doing something different. So I love that aspect of it. Got to have it, and especially in football. And I think with young men in today's world, I think in general, right? I think you got to operate in the black and white.
Mm-hmm.
So I do appreciate that. But the other part of me is, and I think this is, you have guys come in. Whether you mentioned, we found a guy, on the practice field that's going to contribute on Saturday, or why is Janarian Bonner getting utilized more? And you've seen him at times utilized, in the red zone with some of those run plays they use with him. But I mean, the guy is kind of a Swiss Army knife. And Rule said that they use him in special teams, but he's a guy that you can use in the short to intermediate pass game, and he gets upfield. He's athletic. He has a little more twitch than the rest of the tight end groups, so he can provide you some explosiveness without having to take a bunch of risk, throwing the ball downfield. So I love that. But yeah, I think just having Dana in here it's a fresh thing, a fresh mindset. And this is what I've been out of the game for a while, and I appreciate coaches. Coaches, you're there to coach. You're there to, and it's different in college and the NFL too. I mean, in the NFL, you're there to coach. You're there to get you better. If it doesn't work, they'll find someone different. College is different because you develop relationships through recruiting. You develop relationships with mom and dad. You promise you're going to take care of their son. You're going to do all these good things. So there's a more of a parenting aspect that goes on, but sometimes that creeps into the coaching game where you're afraid to potentially hurt feelings. You don't want a kid to transfer. You don't want kids, they're not happy. It's just, there's obviously the game's changed in college where kids have easier access to move on. But I think Rule in general and his staff have done a fantastic job and say, hey, if there's any, if there's any doubt or you're second guessing yourself, go. No hard feelings. Go. We want everyone all in, and I think Dana can provide that. I guess the way I would say it is more of a psychologist aspect to it, to where it's like, listen, I'm here to help you talk, through things, but I'm not here to necessarily be your friend. I'm here to coach you to get you better. I think every team needs to have that. You kind of have to have that hammer, good parent, bad parent, right? Every team needs that, especially in college football. And I think Dana kind of brings that aspect in there to bring that black and white and just say, this is what I see. And it didn't take him very long to say this isn't good enough. I mean, he called it embarrassing. And I tell you what, good players respond to that because it's almost like a shock to the system. And you can take it one way or the other. You can say, I don't like that. I'm taking my ball and going home and a pout, or said, hey, I don't like being called out. I'm going to fix it. And I tell you what, a lot of those guys, it looked better on Saturday, and not from a point standpoint wise, but I think perimeter blocking and just some better execution offensively looked rather different.
Did your ears start ringing and get excited when you heard him talk about competition?
Love that. You got to have it. You have to have competition. You don't have competition, guys get fat and happy. You're just it's just the natural way of the human body and how the human mind works. You have to be pressed. You have to know that you have to go out there and earn it every day, and that's just a healthy way of doing it. So yeah, I just think the times where I had good players, and behind me, Barry Turner, when I was at Nebraska, got recruited as a true freshman. So I knew, and they play as a true freshman. So if I knew I was not on my game, and if I slipped up at all, they had no problem putting him in because Barry was really, really good. So I had to be on my everything, I's dotted, T's crossed. You can't overlook anything because I didn't want to lose my spot. I didn't want Barry to take over my spot. Now he come in and give me a break every now and then, but there was no way I'm letting that guy come in and take my spot. So it's healthy. You need it, got to have it. You look back all the Pete Carroll days at USC, competition Tuesdays. You got to earn it. You got to do it. And Nebraska needs it because you got to have that to get over this hump. To start winning these close games, start winning the 6th game, the 7th game, the 8th game going forward. You look at into next year and years down the road. You got to try to recreate game situation as close as possible, and that's the only way to do it is through competition.
Hey, I really liked last night. You, Michael, and Damon got into a discussion about offensive line. And Holgorsen kind of talked about the offensive line, and he pointed out a veteran, Ben Scott, made a mistake on one particular play. And then he tied in running backs, but he was very complimentary of the offensive line. And I think the offensive line has been good. It hasn't been great. They do have their limitations, but they have it's further down on the list of concerns on offense. As we now get to the last 2 games, and you hear an outsider's perspective of the offensive line and what you know, where do you think Nebraska is with their offensive line right now on how good they are, or can they improve and do something different over the last 2 games?
I think you can always improve and be better, without a doubt. But I think the offensive line always gets the fair share of the blame because of it's just they're easy. You're not successful running the football while it's offensive line. Dylan Raiola's getting sacked too much. Oh, because the line can't protect. It was like, well, Damon's been vocal about it. I've been vocal about it to people, whether it's on Bigger Wrap Up or your guys' show or with Schmitty on Hell Varsity, or just talk to people in general. Like, I think they've been pretty darn good this year. Dylan's has hung on to the ball too much. Running backs have not seen the hole well enough. And I think I don't know why it takes a coach to come out and say it in a press conference that people are like, oh, maybe he's right. It's like, well, I just offensive line terminology, how they block, certain ways of doing things. It's complicated, and not throwing shade at the average watcher, but it's hard for them to comprehend. They just kind of see the end result and think, oh, our offensive line's not blocking. It's like, well, yeah, they are. The running back missed his hole by, he cut. He could have bounced it. He could do whatever. That's where the play was supposed to go, and they don't go there. You see Raiola getting sacked after he's been back there for 4 seconds. Is like, God, the offensive line's got to protect them. No, Dylan's got to get rid of the ball. Offensive line can only pass pro for so long until your defensive ends or defensive linemen are gonna beat a offensive lineman and get back there. So I thought they've been fine. They've been good enough for this team to produce more. It's just a weird, it works together, man. And that's what has to work first is you have to have good offensive line play. And I think it's been good enough, but we haven't got consistent performance from the running backs, haven't got consistent performance from the receivers. And Dylan showing freshman mistakes and just showing that, he's a young player. It's going to happen. And all that molded together gets you, an offense that, is averaging 18, 19 points a game. And they got to do better to get this thing to where it needs to go.
Hey, for people that didn't catch you last night, another topic that I was really engaged in, and Damon and I have had this discussion about tempo. And, the ball didn't stay in Dylan's hands very long. They went quick, and there were variations of the air raid that we saw, whether it be a mesh concept, they ran a crossing route, they had 4 verts. But what's your feeling when you hear the word tempo, going fast, taking your time, changing it up where You put the defense on their heels. What's the best tempo you think for this offense? And did you see a difference on tempo on Saturday?
Yeah, a little bit. It's it's kind of whether you want to call it tempo or rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's call it six one way, half a dozen the other, and you're kind of comparing the two. All offenses have to have good rhythm. I just think of all the thinking back to Bill Callahan and as the 49ers, Mike Martz was there for a little bit, and just other good OCs that know offensive football. They're always get out of the huddle, break the huddle, get to the line of scrimmage, tempo, rhythm. You gotta get it going because obviously you want to get to the line of scrimmage with enough time in the play clock so you can diagnose things. And especially if you're going to shift a lot, you got to have time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that, but then you just dictate. You're able to dictate what you are able to do. Motion, you need to get to the line of scrimmage quicker. You got to put guys in motion. That gives a quarterback a pretty clear-cut idea of what the coverage is going to be. They go in a lot. They motion and guys aren't moving. Probably going to be a man-to-man coverage, or zone coverage. If they're motioning and you're seeing corners run or whatever it is, linebackers, it's probably a man-to-man situation. So you got to be able to, the tempo and the rhythm is able to get you what you need to see from the defense, but also then put your guys in the best position to win their one-on-one battles and win in that play. So you can't be breaking the huddle with 10 seconds. Can't happen. Otherwise, you can't operate successfully. So the tempo rhythm, whether it's you're going fast, but I think you want to get the play call in, get the call out so you can get to the line of scrimmage. And if you want to go quick, go quick. But it also gives you an opportunity to kind of slow down and just, okay, we're going to start in bunch formation to the boundary. We're going to shift back to the field. We're going to kind of see what the secondary is doing, how they're going to rotate here. And if we get what we like, perfect, let's go with it. If not, then maybe you did call 2 plays at line of scrimmage, or maybe Dylan says because you saw this that you're able to check out of it and say, okay, perfect. We got numbers this way. Instead of throwing it over here, we're going to run it over here because now they're short. They're one man short, and we can attack them this way. So you got to have the right, correct tempo and rhythm just so you can operate and function as efficiently as possible.
Have you narrowed down who Dana was talking about? This mysterious guy that's going to emerge on Saturday?
Yeah. It could be I brought it up last night on Big Red Wrap Up. I think the leading vote right now is Quinn Clark. That's the leading one.
He's a freak, man.
Yeah, it could be multiple guys now that you're down to 2 games. If guys haven't played, you don't have to worry about losing a red shirt. It could be a Malachi Coleman. It could be, gosh, but I maybe a Quentin Ives in the running back role or something different with Ramir being. I think I'm leaning towards a guy who can go out and make some plays, has some explosiveness, and no matter what, you just win that one-on-one battle. It could be using Carter Nelson more. Carter's played a little bit, but more on special teams. They've had some packages and wrinkles. Maybe it's more having Carter being in there. But I think it's going to be a guy like Quinn Clark just because he's freaky, he's bouncy, he's twitchy, he's big bodied, and that's someone that you can just go up, throw the ball to. It's like he's going to go get it and win that battle. So I'm leaning that way, but I'm excited to see who it could potentially be. I know my eyes will be open to see who's all out there on certain offensive plays and to see who they're trying to utilize. Because I think right now it's all hands on deck. You're trying to find anybody, anywhere to get you that extra first down, to get you that extra touchdown, to find that extra win that we so desperately need.
Jay Moore, Blackshirt, pride of Elkhorn, former Antler, and of course co-host on Big Red Wrap Up. Let's go over to the defense. Why is communication such an issue between the back end and the defensive call as a whole?
That is a fantastic question. It's frustrating to see. Just because those guys have played so much football, they've struggled. They've been so inconsistent all year. I really wasn't too concerned with the back end, just because Hartzog and Gifford, and I know Singleton has been hurt, but Buford's been banged up too throughout the time. But those guys have still played football, and they're older players, so the game's not moving too quickly. But Even you throw Hill in there. I think he's hurt, and he hasn't played obviously up to his potential we saw earlier in the year. Sierra Wright stepped up big. I thought he's been the most consistent guy, through this back half of the season once Hill had the plantar fasciitis issue. I don't know why. Here's my honest thought. I think that with losing Evan Cooper so late in this process of, early in the season or just before camp, that's played a bigger role. I think we overlooked, having Coach Butler come in here because we thought, with his pedigree, being at Penn State, being with the Buffalo Bills, we thought, oh, perfect. It's going to be a seamless transition, insert. It's going to be fine. I think there's just been a little, I don't know, the message has been a little, it's just been misconstrued. It just hasn't been clean. And it's just simple stuff. I mean, you heard Coach Rule say it, when it's cover 3, our guys got to be back there. If it's cover 2, you got to be the deepest of the deepest, and it's just not doing that. I think it's just a mix of everything, but it's been rather disappointing because I just wasn't too concerned with that group. Whether it's been communication, they've been out of whack all year for some reason, and I don't, if they can get put together, the last 2 games they got to do it. It's been interesting to see what Wisconsin's going to try to do. I think they're going to try to run the football. They're trying to implement what they did a lot last year against Nebraska up in Madison. They're trying to probably do a lot of things USC did to them in the run game with the counter action and stuff like that. But they got to be better. And I think they can. They've shown the ability to play really, really well at times. I just think to the Rutgers game and stepping up big, and I think to the Colorado game. I mean, they played really damn good against Colorado, and we've seen how good Colorado is now. But why is it the inconsistency? And it's hard to answer because I don't know, because it's not like they're young, and they tried putting young guys back there and they've been unsuccessful. They got to figure it out and come together. But that's the biggest thing. Communication is so key, so key. But teams, you put them in conflict though with motions, and you get tempo going on this defense. They've shown the ability to struggle because they can't communicate. So they got to get it cleaned up and figured out. Just again, like I said, repeat myself, that get that one more win.
What's it like to play on Senior Day? I know Senior Day, almost 20 years past your Senior Day is a little bit different because of the way college football rosters are built now. But what's it like to play on Senior Day? Last time you're playing in Memorial Stadium, what was that emotional like for you, and for what it'll be for some of the guys that are going to play an extended amount of time on Saturday?
Yeah, just thinking about it, I get goosebumps. It was obviously a really, really special day for me. Growing up in Nebraska, since I knew what Nebraska football was, that's what I wanted to do. And then being a part of it, and then knowing this is your last time doing it. Not gonna lie, I'm not a very emotional person. My wife can reiterate that too, but there was, I had walking out. It wasn't the Senior Day moment running out. It was, I think we did it earlier and then came back in. And when we got done saying our pregame prayer and knowing, I'm sitting there locked arms with Stu Bradley and Corey McEwen, who we kind of always walked out together with, and 2 of my best friends to this day, I had tears in my eyes just because I knew what a ride it's been, and wasn't able to experience that moment again. And it was hard because you get so emotional like that, but you're like, hey, you got to suck it up here. You got to go out and play a football game. But yeah, man, it was awesome. My brother was on the team as a walk-on, so he was able to get my family photo with my mom and dad, and him and I in uniform. It was cool. It was awesome. I hope the guys enjoy it. I hope they can go out and get a win because it's such a great day. And we were able to beat up on Colorado that day, so it made it even better. But it's for me, it was a special day, man. I'll never forget it. Those emotions I felt. I tried to cherish every second of it because, it's not too many guys can say they lived a childhood dream and lived it out and it did it like I did it. So I'll definitely never forget it.
That's awesome. Jay, as always, I appreciate the time and the insight. Thank you.
Yep, you bet. Sounds good. Talk to you next week.
That's